The thing about being a non-Japanese fan of manga is that no matter how much you read, and no matter how many series publishers bring over to your country, you are always getting a fraction of whatever is being published in Japan. The manga industry is huge, and publishers often cherry-pick between the best and most popular when deciding which series to bring over. In other words, we lack a lot of perspective, and it's important to remember that whenever we're talking about manga as a whole. This is what makes Viz Media's Shonen Jump app so unique. Every week, we get to read every manga that appears in the magazine's pages, something we don't have for other massive publications like Magazine or Sunday. At the same time though, it also exposes us to how often series get cut from the magazine as well. A batch of new series will crop up every few months, and if they do well, that's fine. But if they don't, they'll often be cancelled rather unceremoniously. Jump isn't the only magazine that does this, of course, but because we get to see it more often, we end up talking about it more often. Case in point, here's a chart I made of every new series that recently debuted in Weekly Shonen Jump's pages, sorted by year and color-coded by their status. In short, green series are manga currently ongoing in the magazine. Yellow series are manga that ended after 2 or more years of publication. Orange series are manga that ended after at least 1 year of publication, and red series are manga that got cancelled within less than a year of publication. You might have already noticed, but there's a lot of red here, and that's gonna make a statement no matter what you feel about Shueisha's editorial practices. What makes this worse is that Shueisha isn't all that transparent about why a series gets cancelled. There are always a few pretty obvious factors, of course, like low popularity and sales, but in general, fans just have to theorize about it on their own. Because of that, people tend to get antsy and paranoid about a new series possibly getting axed, and their reactions can get pretty ugly. For an example of this, we can talk about the Hunters Guild, Red Hood, which was actually pretty popular in the West, to the point that it even got a physical release, something longer running series like Witch Watch and Me and Roboko have yet to receive. Despite this, the manga was cancelled after only 18 chapters, which is incredibly short even for a cancelled series. There was a lot of frustration expressed by the fans after Red Hood's cancellation, although it seems like the series being much less popular in Japan was probably a big factor. Another example of a somewhat popular newcomer getting canned is Ayashimon, which was actually written by Yuji Kaku of Hell's Paradise, Jigokuraku. Jigokuraku was a breakout hit with 13 volumes, but Ayashimon ended up sputtering at only 25 chapters. Its cancellation came to a surprise for many of the manga's fans, and while I was not the biggest fan of the series myself, I couldn't disagree with the sentiment that Ayashimon could have lasted longer. While I'm sure there's a very good reason for why Shueisha decided to cancel these series, those reasons aren't necessarily communicated to us all that well in the West. Because of that, I can't really blame anyone for finding the Shonen Jump reading experience incredibly unstable. Series seem like they get cancelled completely out of nowhere, and every new manga you become a fan of creates a nagging worry in the back of your mind that the audience in Japan may not be as receptive. Unfortunately, if you don't live in Japan, there's not a lot you can do to throw your support behind your favorite new series, especially if it's a little too early for it to have physical releases. Having said that, we did get to see a pretty interesting situation a few years back involving a brand new series named Kagurabachi. Now, at the time, Kagurabachi was just another new battle shonen series with an edgy slant, and there was nothing particularly special about it, whether it be its author or its premise. And yet, for some reason, Kagurabachi began getting a lot of attention, with memes basically hyping it up as the next big Shonen Jump hit. They were ironic, of course, the manga had barely started for God's sake, and I doubt anyone making these memes ever thought otherwise. Funnily enough though, the memes did do a surprisingly good job of signal boosting Kagurabachi's name among the manga community. People who otherwise wouldn't have even known about the manga gave it a look due to the memes, and while not everyone came away liking it, the fact that it was getting eyes in the community at all is probably the only thing that matters. Nowadays, it sits pretty comfortably on Jump's roster, and by this point, a lot of that puffed up popularity ended up becoming pretty genuine. I wouldn't say it's my favorite in the magazine personally, but it does have some incredible artwork and an interesting power system. We'll never know if Kagurabachi was even in any danger of being cancelled, or if the memes and subsequent rise in popularity ever actually had an impact on the editorial team's decisions. But there's certainly no way that it hurt either. It does make me wonder what would have happened if similar memes were made for other manga that got cancelled, like Martial Master Asumi, or Green Green Greens. Would it have helped them survive getting cancelled, or was this all just a big coincidence and it would have had no effect at all? No one knows at this point, and I'm not interested in experimenting. All things said, I don't think there's much point in laboring on the concept. If the Weekly Shonen Jump editorial team was that easy to manipulate, I doubt we'd have so many cancelled series to begin with. At the end of the day, Jump is still a rough magazine to be published in, and I'd rather attribute Kagurabachi's success to its own strengths, rather than the capricious behaviors of the internet. It may not be as interesting, but at least it's understandable. Thanks for watching. Kagurabachi may well have survived without the memes that ended up signal boosting it, but it may have been helped by them regardless. Do you think the memes helped the series at all? If so, let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you want to see more of my videos, and I'll see you next time.